Hey all, this is Xenoxis, and this is part 2 of the Xenoxis show for the 2nd of August 2025. I'm just checking here, so he's using the BRC's bar and stuff that, which is of course very very good and stuff that, you know. Maybe he did drop it earlier and stuff that, because yeah, I kind of wish that you could see here, for example, like you could see how many pits they did, or whatever, because yeah, I mean, but that's taking, yeah, so if that's a Gear 3 car, that's a Gear 3 car. Settings that are like GT3 car series, you can see, but this is a GT300. But is that what the GT3 cars stand for? That they are all GT300 cars, but it's just that in certain countries they say GT300, but in certain countries they say GT3. You know, that's the question. That is the question. We need to get some more cash out there, so we could maybe upgrade the Porsche. So this is the Porsche. Also, when it comes to braking, right? Is there any way to see like the front weight balance is 46, okay? Is technically is the brake controller the only way to like make the brakes better? Is the question. Actually, let's do this. Boom. Boom. Let's have it just set on the default here and see what happens. Because sometimes that doesn't mean that 280 is the quickest that it will go up to. As you can see here, this says 347 here. Meaning that 280 shouldn't be the top speed, even though it's showing that. Yeah, so let's get more of the weight reduction first here. Rank 2 of the weight reduction. Rank 3, more body rigidity, fully customizable LSD. LSD, oh no, not that type of LSD there. Right, and we cannot get. So I think that's everything that we need. Yeah, so we end up with 934 horsepower, because you see here ultra high and supercharged high RPMs. But yeah. But imagine, right, if all cars could get all these upgrades, for example, and then you either had a supercharged or the ultra high, or the one thing for the natural aspirated, which basically had an upgrade as well. So yeah. Generally speaking, I mean, the whole thing that making the car lighter also usually helps. So that, like, do we do the same race again and try? I just want to test basically if this can make it more durable. So second place is what yeah. I mean, theoretically it might be also that, for example, if I use better tires, then that of course changes a lot of things as well. How much does the Sonda by the way? The Sonda is 1070k. So that's why that is very good on the tires. I don't know why, wise man. I can't even afford a mini points. So yeah. it might be also that sometimes it can have to do with other things, but yeah. Yeah, wow, it feels like the brakes got better now just because I reduced the weight on it. But sometimes I feel like certain of the engine tuning things also helps the brakes out, you know, sometimes. I definitely think that we can probably change the brake balance, and that will probably help a lot. The main problem is, of course, also is the fact that, you know, that the whole manual thing in the game, like, it needs to be something that is like, I don't know how to put it, right? Because, you know, yeah, so manual should be an option that you should have, right? But I often feel like if it comes to time trials or license tests or whatever, it feels like that you're meant to be given an advantage if you are using like a steering wheel and stuff that, you know, or if you're using manual for that matter. Because it's just the fact that manual will always have short shifting, and the people will try to say that short shifting doesn't do a high difference. But for example, you can try to exactly copy someone's tune, for example, for Tokyo like 600. You can copy their settings exactly, and you cannot win. You cannot get first place the way they do. And that's just because, oh, what's the difference? Oh, well, they are using the manual gearbox. And also, here's the thing, right? The manual gearbox is often worth less points than the automatic racing gearbox. And that is just like why. Like why? Oh, because driving manual is harder, sure. But the thing with manual, something you can do, for example, is you can force the car to be better at braking. Did you know, for example, that if you're using, or if you're on, for example, the fifth brake, whatever, or the sixth or whatever, you can basically strangle the engine or whatever it's called. I don't know if it's called strangling the engine, but you can, for example, go down from a very, very high gear to use the first gear very, very quickly, and that can force brake the car. You can basically force the car to brake more heavily. You can do that to also save like a lot of tires and stuff that by, you know, using the thing. And usually there, I believe what it's showing up there is the recommended, like what you bring the manual to or whatever, right? You know, to handle certain corners better or something like that. You know, I don't know how much true that is, you know, whatever, right? Yeah. And then it feels like either they need to make like manuals better and stuff that, you know, or something, you know. And this hard corner pulls. Yeah. So generally speaking, what is good about the Porsches, they tend to be track specialists. Stuff that use like very, very little tires and stuff that, you know. But yeah, but also, for example, if you're using, for example, racing mediums or even racing softs, then that should just make it so that you don't consume as much like what, like you don't consume tires as much from braking and stuff that, you know. And then also, of course, depends on the car, because there are cars that are very much like they are way, way better on the tires, you know. This was more to test, of course, like is it doable and stuff that to do certain things, you know. Yeah, let's see as 1-to-1 instead. See how that works, because that usually affects like corner speed and stuff that, you know. Yeah, we barely made that, even though I did use my brakes very early there. But sometimes also the whole, yeah. Maybe I need to have that on default, please. I have that set on 1 instead. And that's set on default. I'm gonna see how much better that is. Maybe that might be. Actually, maybe that was the. That's still a problem. So definitely need the ITCS on there. See, that is something I wish that you could just save on each car individually and stuff that the car could just remember. Like, okay, like in the car setting there, basically you should have a TCS value that you can just set it to, and that will be its default value all the time, basically, and stuff that, you know. You might say, sure, it changes from track to track, because of course if you're driving just in a circle all the time, then you don't need to have the TCS on at all, or the ABS on, for whatever, right? Worst thing is we lost so much there though. It feels like. It actually feels like it became worse actually with that on default instead of having that on weak. Maybe I should have that off. On certain cars it's actually better to have it off. Now you can see the ABS is showing up there as yellow. Or whatever, and you know, okay, yeah, it definitely doesn't work without ABS. No, we're not gonna. It's gonna take that. I mean, I know that there are ways to make like certain cars more drivable, like sometimes it has to do with the downforce and stuff that, you know. But that's probably possible, right? On this car, let me actually check. Why did it set that to default to that value again? Like maybe I was using it with 340 there again. Mistake or whatever. And I cannot check there, and I cannot change the aerodynamics on it. Normally it's 862 though. It might actually be better to just go with the normal engine there actually. So, maybe do another race. Do something else at least. I'm just gonna check the used car again and see if they have swapped here. Because here I definitely think that on the used car, for example, I don't remember the used cars being up as long as they are now and stuff that, like, I remember it changing way more often and stuff that, you know. But I don't need to have that there. So let's see, because maybe there are other races we could do just instead. Gear 1 prototypes. That's third place, that's third place, that's first place. Okay, so it's either one of these. Free International Speedway. So 950 or less. Yeah, so we are using the better engine in order to cause. I don't know if it's recommended or not. But then here you shouldn't need. I can scroll on to. Sometimes you might not even need traction control at all. So yeah, McLaren VGT is still the number one thing there. Now let me actually check here. Because yeah, I've changed this to be the maximum here. 350 is the default one. You see how this goes with this. I don't know how much fuel it's consuming though. Just if that's the whole thing sometimes, you know. So I'm the LMP cars. The LMP cars of course has to have insane brakes on them and stuff that, like whole braking zone feels like often really bad on the LMP. he's like what they show up by default. Like there, you should definitely have it be changed on the LMP card, because otherwise you're going to be breaking too much, you know. Oops. Don't want to do that. Yeah, and then it feels so weird when you're seeing a vision car ride, you know, like because there is an actual Alpine like you know LMP car, but it's not this one, because that's the vision one, I think it is. Yeah, the VET, that is not the real one. It is in real life. Yeah, there is a bit of spin. It's been since the TCS into at least. There was a bit of spin. Spin. I'm not gonna get that many laps though with this fuel. I mean, if I can get enough distance, basically, if I can be quick enough to where I can get very, very far ahead, then, you know, then it could be worth running with this, you know. Just all Porsche. There's a Dodge Mark there as well. I can feel it. One really wants to spin. I don't know if it's that the track is a little bit wet or something like that. Maybe, you know. That's the Bugatti one. The front there, the yellow one there. Is this the one or is that a Nissan? That's the Nissan. There's the Jaguar there, the cool Jaguar one. I don't think there's going to be rain on this track though. Yeah, this is this track that actually drove in the other thing. I don't know how often they will be. Oh, there's my favorite Nissan Calsonic one. This can be an absolutely insane car, by the way, because, you know, because you can make that car even working like the 800 pp thing and stuff that, which, you know, using an LMP car in that is actually like really good, because the LMP car is of course made, unlike the Sonda, it's actually made to be an actual LMP car and stuff that, so it's like more balanced and stuff that. But I have changed on the tires. I have changed it to be more the thing, to be more sluggish and stuff that, because yeah, sometimes if you have the steering bit too sensitive on certain cars, that it's very easy to like make it spin out just by the being sensitive. I mean, usually speaking, I feel like if they're at the default level and they don't have a turbo on them, then they can probably do a lot more laps and stuff that, like unlike me, you know, stuff that. So it's definitely important that we get first place at least in this. I'm gonna see if the fly will allow me to now, so we can fly out. Like, will you say, please? Hopefully not. Obviously, we got to hope the fly flies out actually on the window, so like it probably really wants to fly out, hopefully. Because I don't want to have a window open for too long. Because it's below outside, I think. So yeah, we might be able to do one more lap after this before we need to go into the pit. So. That was bad. That was me. That was very close though. It kind of looks like the same car though. Because if I remember correctly, the Peugeot were actually dominating for a while before they already had the RDI or whatever they call, like the TDI one. Like because Audi was actually very dominant in like Le Mans for several years actually and stuff that they were just completely unstoppable. But the funny thing is, I believe in that one it was actually like a turbo diesel or whatever, it wasn't a hybrid engine or whatever, right? You know, so it looks like we should be able to get one more lap in here. We should have enough fuel for one more lap. The question though will be if they will need to pit at the same time or if they will be able to drive longer and stuff like that. Yeah. So it definitely kind of looks like the track is slicker, or maybe it's just, you know, sometimes it can look like that because of other reasons, of course, obviously. Sometimes it will be good to check the weather radar first, but yeah, there's raining now. Okay, so we're definitely gonna put on for our wheel. We actually check here the track here, okay. Out on 10 kilometers, maybe 50, 20. Okay, it's not the worst rain yet. We need to see how long this rain lasts because I'm not gonna put on wets or even intermediates if it's just a very short rain. Because the LMP cars usually handle the rain better and stuff like that than like GR3 cars. It's completely looked at everything there. Because I was going to try and look if it's going to be more rain. I think you don't need to change tires, but let's do it anyway. And then let's go for full fuel here. Technically, if we would have used more like fuel saving, if I would have reduced the power in the car, that might have been better to do. Check the close to the mount, please use first. Hopefully the fly did fly out. Hopefully it did fly out, yes. Hopefully it did. Putting it on 20 there so I can see if there's more rain. Because yeah, if it's not going to be any more rain at all, then this is just completely fine basically. Yeah, the worst thing is of course if they are running with like the it on the leanest and stuff that, you know, or if they're using whatever the default engine is. I'm not saying that all the cars are going to be able to like skipping a pit stop or whatever, right? maybe they can. But then why have they adjusted it all of a sudden, right? And stuff like that didn't feel like it was a thing before. Even if you used an LMP car or whatever, because because it feels like really, really like dumb if it's like, oh, use the default engine now, it's easier to win the race. We're using the turbo, that makes no sense. That feels like something that the AI is adjusting to sometimes, and then it just feels like why make the race harder just because you step on like more horsepower on it, That's the pretty cool looking. I forgot which one that is. Is it a vision car? Yeah, or the VDT is actually pretty cool looking. But it's so weird, like it already has the LMP cars, so why not use the LMP car instead, Should it be a Le Mans Cup that has the best races in the game in terms of money payout? Maybe it should also be some Nordschleife focused thing that give you insane money as well, that is Nordschleife focused. In my opinion, there should be a Nordschleife one, there should be a Le Mans one, or there's several races that can give you a lot of cash and stuff there for the time investment, So that, and then there should also be one that is used in a circle, basically, and stuff like that. It's crazy so that I had the fastest lap time also as well, Checking for the radar. There's nothing. Yeah, I mean, we might even still be able to catch them and stuff that, Because it definitely looks like there are fewer saving at least. Because even with the default engines, I think they aren't too slow even with the default engines or whatever, right? They should be faster, they are for LMP cars, So that's the running slow on purpose or whatever. Except McLaren won the VTT. There, because that seems to be very, very good actually, year one races or whatever, right? Oh. And that's the Master one. Gallo is starting to be someone. Why couldn't you have a super high-end race that could be for the cars that are over 1,000 BP or whatever, right? Maybe have at 1,200 as the maximum BP or whatever. Yeah, so basically you have to hope that the number one guy does the pit stop again. That just feels so weird, why? Oh, fuck. I think it's not supposed to be that hard. The thing that I have on here, the armrest. It's almost like it has pressure on the bone or something like that. So that's just bad. I can't have it on the armrest now. It's to play without having it on the armrest. It feels really bad. Damn, that the armrest could be that hard. It definitely feels like it's wet on certain parts of the track actually. It's so weird to hold the controller like this. Whatever, and hope that, it's... This is just gonna feel really bad if it's again that, oh, they won because they didn't need to do a pit stop at all, right? And then it feels like bullshit, like there's no way that they do this if I would have used the default engine or whatever, right? Yeah, you know. I need to be doing the pit now. See, you are pitting. So he used medium tires. And he got that far, like nine laps. It's absolutely insane. Okay. And that was with the racing mediums, of course, and stuff like that. And he probably didn't even need to change tires or whatever, right? Because we think that it would be a lot like further behind and stuff like that, but he's not. Because if you do that pit stop that late, you don't need a lot of fuel at all and stuff like that, you know, so you can do a very, very short pit stop, you know, and stuff like that, you know, so. I'd say at least we're winning it, you know, and stuff like that, you know, which is good, you know, at least. It's crazy how long this track takes otherwise and stuff like that, but in an LMP cars it's a lot quicker this race and stuff like that, obviously. Because, you know, that makes sense. But now should there be a Gran Turismo game that comes out at some point that is used like ER cars and stuff like that, like GT500, GT300, you know, and stuff like that, and the LMP classes and stuff like that, you know. And instead like no regular cars at all, like should that ever be a Gran Turismo game? You know, and stuff like that, you know. Just first place, and they ended up, the second place ended up being only 9 seconds behind. Yeah. So that was pretty decent. But that was Battle Gear Prototype. And then there's one more, which is this one, which is actually 30 minutes. Do we slap on better tires? You can slap on mediums, I think. Let's slap on mediums and use more black fuel saving thing, maybe. I don't know if it's gonna be rain though at some point. Yeah, put second control on 2 at least. Because again, right, there's half an watt hour or whatever, right? So, you know, I don't know how exactly things are gonna go. I'm recognizing the state from something. This was the Michelin Way place, right? Is this in the US or is this in Europe? I forgot. Maybe it's in Japan actually, maybe. Nah. This looks very much like it would be in the US somewhere, the Michelin thing. Yeah, Chevrolet is the sponsor here. So this is basically fixed with the timer here and stuff, that this is going to be half an hour. So I'm not going to be able to record the whole thing and stuff like that, so yeah. Let's make a part 3, of course. And we could try and do the trick, of course, if we get close to ones, we get close to That's when the pit line starts there. For example, so yeah, the pit line is a bit odd on this stage, of course, obviously. So, yeah. I definitely feel like we want to be as lean as possible here, because yeah, it's going to be a lot of laps that we get through actually. It'll be 15 laps, I would guess. If it's half an hour, then it's probably going to be 15 laps. Maybe not, depending on how many pit stops we're going to need to do. Because if we, for example, if we could get, say, 7 laps each time, then yeah, we would need to pit twice at least. But it also depends on when they pit and if we're going to get rain or not. As you see there, I was smart there last time there, for example, that I didn't change into intermediates or anything. Because you have to realize like how long is the rain lasting, you know, and stuff that. And, like how heavy is it? Because if it's just super light, you shouldn't change into intermediates. Intermediates is usually it's going to be light rain, but for a long time, because even the light rain can technically make you spin with certain cars. So on certain cars, it's more important to slam on the intermediates and stuff like that, because yeah. Okay, 120 there in time. It's pretty decent. The weird thing is why we're not catching up to any of them. I don't feel like we have done any mistake or anything, you know, stuff that like. So why are we not catching them? Like, why could we do like a fastest time then like not catch them? Or are they consuming that much fuel? Because if they're gonna make their pit stops earlier than I do, that's gonna be a big difference actually and stuff like that. So yeah. This is really odd. Like, why would they now all of a sudden be driving so quick? They are on softs. That could also be the case, because you have to realize with LMP cars, if you're using softs, then that's a big difference. In terms of times, it can be like sometimes it can be more than 4 seconds. Because I feel like we haven't really been doing any mistakes or whatever, right? Or like super high mistakes that cost like a lot of time or whatever, right? Okay, we're not matching the fastest time, but still like the time that we're getting is not bad. Because not everyone is close to that time though. Might just be one of those tracks where it takes a long time to catch up to them. Because this is a 30-minute run and stuff that, you know. Because sometimes they have something like that they allow their opponents to be very far ahead, so that you might think that, oh, this is impossible to win. And then once you start catching them, you know, then they will slow down or whatever, because yeah. That's just what it feels like sometimes, you know. I don't know if that's correct or not, but yeah. But I mean, if they're gonna pit often, or if they're gonna do, for example, if they need to do 3 pit stops and I only need to do 2, then that's a big difference. Or maybe they would even need to do 4. But it depends on when we see them start coming in and stuff that, like, you know. Because we're almost catching them now. I feel we're either catching them this lap or we're catching them in the next lap. That was really bad though. That was the absolute worst thing that could happen. So now we're all of a sudden 40 seconds behind. Kind of flag though, so someone has done something. Person is off. Yeah, it feels bad, man. That just shows you that the AI drivers can be like dirty and they don't care about the other AI drivers or whatever, right? I wonder how that would be, for example, if you would drive, imagine, right, if the actual like AI opponents, something like that, if they could be like care about other AI drivers or whatever, you know, stuff that, you know, or even care about the human drivers. If they see a AI driver be like really dirty to a human player, you know, maybe certain other AI drivers try taking revenge or whatever, right? Or imagine also if you could have a teammate or whatever or something like that. Race and stuff that, you know. Because you know we're catching them. Stuff that, you know, and then finally now we don't want to catch them, they're not, you know, grabbing that quick. It's pretty bad again, but it's not as bad as it was before. You see how they have to drive in very, very early there when they're gonna pit and stuff like that, so yeah. Okay, so someone is already pitting because they have softs, I'm guessing. They're consuming a lot more fuel, yeah. Now the worst thing, of course, if they're trying to fuel save and they're using like the default engines instead of like the faster ones. So, you need to do that. I feel like this shouldn't be hard to win or anything and stuff there, but still. So that's a hybrid one, yeah, that's the Toyota hybrid one. And I actually really, really like the Toyota LMPs in this as well. Stuff that they're usually very good as well. Yeah. But then there are also cars that you cannot install a turbo on or whatever, right? You know, so that for whatever reason. I forgot if this was in because he's pitting. He had mediums, or someone had full fuel, but he must have pitted earlier then. Or, you know, like gone into the pit earlier and stuff like that, because yeah. I think I will have fuel for one more lap after this, basically, is what I feel like. So we've gone up to 10th position, which actually is pretty insane. Stuff that, but still, you know. So that would actually mean that we would get like 8 laps in. Isn't that the older one, or is that the hybrid one again? Because the other thing, something that is really good with the hybrid cars is that they have the extra battery space to give them more horsepower that they can use when they're like overtaking or whatever, right? And you can build it up like by braking and stuff that, which is actually a very, very cool concept. Stuff that, which is actually something I'm not really, really big fan of, like the hybrid engines. Makes so much more sense than use pure electric and stuff that, because yeah, I think we can help more. Technically don't need to brake there, but it's very, very scary, because if you would screw up that corner, then you would basically go into the wall and you lose so much, because there's a high chance that you could spin as well. How can you be para in last name and then you're not? Okay, so we haven't used hardly up the tires at all, and we're still using mediums. So we shouldn't need to switch tires. We are gonna need to come in for fuel. Okay, Gallo is pitting. There's a lot of ones pitting now. I need to try and remember where the pit lane is. It's here. You have to be very careful here. Because, yeah, I'm pitting, man. Don't change that. And then get full fuel. Might actually come up ahead of Solis at least. You will see. Yeah, but I didn't get the severe. It is so hard sometimes because sometimes you're released out and you have to almost like turn immediately in the correct direction because otherwise you're going to be cutting pit lanes. And I related, why couldn't you have it out throughout the entire pit lane section so that there's no way to like cut it? Once you even start going into the pit zone, basically they should use the automatic and make you automatically use the drive so that you cannot get the whole pit lane penalty and stuff like that, because that is just the dumbest thing I feel like. Often you're losing way more than 2 seconds there actually, but that's just because, you know, that's just the way the game is. See, that was very, very close there. That could have ended like super badly there because I tried to, you know. I don't know if everyone has beat it yet or whatever. Like Frogger is definitely beat it because he's all the way down here and stuff like that. So. And of course, if you end up having like, you know, isn't that the Mazda one? Isn't that the 787? Yeah. That one you could actually win the entire race with, by the way, because the 787B is also one of those that are really, really insane for, you know, for its points value. Okay, so there's a lot of ones pitting now. You might be able to the fastest time, maybe, I don't know. I mean, fastest time is not all that matters, but still. You need to be very, very aggressive there with the steering there if you want to make that corner like in a good way. I have fastest time now, okay, good. So you can do it with medium tires. Oops, I didn't mean to do that, sorry. That could have ended up really, really badly. They could have spawned way, way worse there. Like I was kind of ready for it there because, you know. Okay, good. So 6th place. The fuel saving strategy definitely seems like it's going to pay off. But the next time we do the pit stop, we are probably going to need to be changing the tires. But it seems like we should also probably change the brake thing now to the front. If possible, front, please. Oh, where the hell am I going? God damn it, piece of... Game bastard, game bastard, game bastard, game bastard, game bastard, game bastard, game bastard. It's so stupid with all those settings are so easy to change on a steering wheel because then you can use that, you know, turn that way, you know, and stuff like that. But it is just like they should either have it so that you can just pause the game and then just have it here basically in the assist there. You should just be able to change the thing, the brake balance or whatever, right, you know. Because I feel like definitely if I want the tires to last long now, I needed to have changed the brake balance there. So the question is, of course, how much are they gonna need to pit compared to when I need to pit and stuff like that? Because now the thing is also that for example, like if I can use softs, I'm definitely gonna switch on softs if I have the points value for it. So that I'm definitely gonna switch into softs for the last stint stuff that, so we can like go like really fast. You can use to release the gas there too. Okay, I ignored the tackling, but I feel like that was actually worth it there once. Must have second place. There's the audio again, I think it is. Yeah. I mean, it is cool to see cars that don't exist in real life and stuff like that, but some of those cars are so ridiculous so that they don't feel like they match in, because if every other car is an LMP car and then you see this, right, then it makes no sense. Like, then they should at least make the car look to be lower or whatever, you know, and stuff like that, instead of trying to look like, you know, it just sticks out, right? Like, if you're like, okay, this is supposed to be LMP races, then, you know, this order has absolutely no LMP in it and stuff like that, because it's not low enough, you know. And then also because there are all the LMPs in the game and stuff like that, you know, so yeah, you know. It's just weird like that there are stuff like that just sticks out, you know. You might think, oh, but in early Gran Turismo, blah blah blah, yeah, you know, like there were cars that stood out that were like really good, like the Lister Storm, you know. You might remember the Lister Storm was absolutely amazing, but then you also had like the Jaguar like XJ 2020 or something like that there, I forgot what it was called. But that one was really cool as well, you know, and stuff like that. There were so many cool cars and stuff like that, because the fact that in Gran Turismo 2 you had the two versions of the Hug-Speak, like you had a scooter and then you had a one with lower horses. And that's technically the one that you can build in this, basically, and stuff like that. Except, of course, like, why not just then put in the other Suzuki one, the other Hug-Speak car, instead of just making it an engine swap and stuff like that. Because it's not that you're swatching or you're switching to that specific engine either, because you're actually switching to another car's engine. Whatever you say now. Yellow is a pretty decent lead. Yeah, the question is not when is he gonna come in. Stuff that comparison to when I'm gonna come in. Because I got 2 more laps that we can probably do. Stuff that 2 more laps. Making it so that we will be on lap, what is it, 16 or whatever. Before we need to pit. It might be even more than that and stuff that, you know. Okay, so Monday does didn't be on softs. That was actually really good for me, because they didn't take over the pole position, or not pole position, but you know what I mean, like the fastest lap time. And why couldn't they give a bonus for that, to be able to have like the fastest lap time or whatever, right? But they might say, but oh well, then it would be too easy, you know, because yeah, you know. I also think that why couldn't you have like an offline rating for like you know, for like race cleanliness and stuff that, you know, and then like the AI would like restrict it or something like that, because yeah. Okay, is Gallo gonna pit yet? Or is he also fuel saving? Unless we see him pit here, then he's probably gonna pit at the same time as I do. He's not pitting already, so. Please for fuel on. Sometimes it's odd, because there was during one track when I smashed into several cars, even smashed into a barrier, and I still got the clean racing bonus, and I was like, huh? Like, why did I get the clean racing bonus for that? And then sometimes when I try to be super careful and not touch any car at all, then I just still don't get the clean racing bonus, and then it feels like, okay, like, it has to be then that all races cannot give you clean racing bonus, but then like, why, you know, and stuff like that, you know. And I kind of wish like you would get input at least, like when you lost the clean racing bonus, how long you had it and what it was that caused it. Was it that, oh, you drove away from the track limit? Because I can understand if you go outside track, but during that time when I got the clean racing bonus, I was outside the track or whatever, right? And then that felt like really odd, like okay, like I definitely drove outside the track and I still got the clean racing bonus. And then there are times when I'm more careful than that and I don't get the clean racing bonus. And then it just feels like, okay, like why? Okay, he is pitting now. Yep. Yeah, let's switch to Swift then, sure, or, you know, I would technically not need full fuel here though. So he got up to 82. Match that then. Now let's go for full action instead. So we're going with softs now for final stint. So there's 8 minutes left. Now I don't want to try and break the thing here. Because I think I need to turn here in a certain direction here at first. Why did I get cutting across pit lanes there? That makes absolutely no sense. I'm gonna actually turn this to less now. I'm gonna use it at power 1 now. I don't know if power 1 is the correct choice here. Because there's 7 minutes left. 7 minutes. 7 minutes. So the time is back to team. Yeah, and Gallo didn't of course get a full tank or anything like that, but yeah, but sometimes it can be smart to go with the full tank, especially if you're unsure how much the car is gonna consume. Like having like one here instead. Now the question is Saul gonna have to go in again is the question at some point, you know. Because if Hisar needs to go in, then I'm going to get up to second place again. So that, most likely. Of course, if I would have gotten less, and I don't think that he actually switched tires, I just think he's still on medium and stuff that, because yeah. Basically, I'm catching like so many seconds, like every time I feel like. And I should easily get pole position again, basically, with like, yeah. I'm almost 2 seconds faster now. Almost 2 seconds faster already. This is absolutely insane, by the way. Just trying to show you how powerful the softs are. And you see we're catching all the time, basically. We're catching in all the time here. There's no way that Gallo keeps us behind him. That's just because, not only is it because we're having softs, yeah, we're almost 4 seconds better. We're also not using the leanness anymore. Now we're using the full power of the engine and we have turbo. They don't, supposedly. Okay, so we got a 13 there, or whatever instead of what was it before. I think that was something like almost like 4 seconds faster, or even more than that even. Yeah, it might have been good to just go with softs in the very beginning. Because sometimes softs also can actually make you consume less fuel. This is actually pretty hilarious, but it kind of makes sense, right? Because that's understandable then why Gallo is doing so good, because he's using the Nissan. So I've said just how powerful that thing is, most of that. So yeah, I haven't drinking anything almost for 2 hours now. This is a bit bad. That's the Tomahawk, right? Yeah, you can see that curve is no problem now. Okay, I was 1 second slower there, but still. Okay, so it's 4 minutes left and